Every year, people walk into familiar places: a forest, a farmhouse, a ship at sea, a lighthouse, places that should be safe. Most of them walk back out, but sometimes they don't. And the evidence they leave behind doesn't answer anything. It only deepens the silence. 5 cases, no explanations. Let's start with the coldest one. February 1959, the Ural Mountains, Soviet Union. 9 experienced hikers on a winter expedition through a pass called Kolatsyakal. In the local Mansi language, that name means dead mountain. They never made it to the other side. When search teams reached the campsite 3 weeks later, they found the tent. It had been cut open from the inside. The hikers' boots, their coats, their supplies, all still inside. In sub-zero temperatures, freezing to death, 9 people had slashed their way out and run into the snow. Barefoot, half-dressed. No rational explanation fits that decision. The bodies were found scattered across the slope, some over a kilometer away. One group had tried to build a fire. They died of hypothermia. But the hikers found further down the mountain. Those bodies told a different story. Crushed ribs, a fractured skull, internal injuries consistent with a car crash, except there were no external wounds, no bruising, no marks on the skin. One woman was missing her tongue, and the clothing on 2 of the bodies was measurably radioactive. 65 years later, the case file is still open. Avalanche, infrasound, secret weapons test. None of the theories account for all the facts. 9 hikers walked into Dead Mountain. None walked back. A remote farmstead in Bavaria. March 1922. 6 people, Andreas Gruber, his wife, their daughter, her 2 young children, and their maid, all lived and worked on the Hinterkaifeck farm. Days before the killings, Andreas noticed strange things. Footprints in the snow leading toward the house, but none leading away. A newspaper he hadn't bought on the doorstep. Keys missing. Footsteps in the attic when no one was up there. On the night of March 31st, someone entered the house and killed all 6 inhabitants with a mattock, a farm tool like a pickaxe. The killings were methodical, room by room. The young daughter was found under her mother's body, the 2-year-old in his cot. Then things got stranger. The killer didn't leave. Evidence showed someone stayed in the house for several days after the murders. They fed the cattle. They stoked the fire. They ate food from the kitchen. They lived among the dead. Over 100 suspects were investigated. The killer was never found. The farmhouse was eventually demolished. But the question remains, who walks into a house, kills 6 people, and then stays? And why? December 4th, 1872. The Atlantic Ocean, about 400 miles east of the Azores. The crew of a British merchant ship, the Dei Gratia, spotted a familiar vessel drifting on the current. It was the Mary Celeste. No one was at the helm. When the boarding party climbed aboard, they found the ship in perfect sailing condition. Cargo intact, 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol, all accounted for. 6 months worth of food and water. The crew's personal belongings exactly where they should be. But 10 people, the captain, his wife, their 2-year-old daughter, and 7 crew members, had vanished. The logbook's last entry was dated November 25th, 9 days earlier. It recorded nothing unusual. No distress signal had been sent. The ship's lifeboat was gone, the only thing missing. And the table in the captain's quarters still had breakfast laid out. Piracy made no sense. Nothing was taken. Mutiny made no sense. The captain was well liked. A waterspout? An explosion of the alcohol cargo? Every theory collapses under scrutiny. 10 people left a perfectly sound ship on a calm November morning and were never seen again. Off the west coast of Scotland, the Flannan Isles, remote, windswept rock in the North Atlantic. A lighthouse stood on the largest island, Island Moor. 3 keepers manned it, James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur. Their job was simple: keep the light burning. Ships in the North Atlantic depended on it. On December 15th, 1900, a passing ship noticed the light was out, but the weather was too rough for the relief vessel to investigate. It took until December 26th, the day after Christmas, for the relief keeper, Joseph Moore, to reach the island. Moore later wrote that something felt wrong the moment he landed. The landing platform was empty. No one came to greet him. He climbed the 160 steps to the lighthouse compound. The door was unlocked. Inside, the clock had stopped. The table was set for a meal. The lamp was cleaned and ready, but unlit, and hanging on their hooks, exactly where they should have been. The keepers' oilskin coats, their only protection against a North Atlantic winter. 3 men vanished, one of them without even his coat. An official investigation concluded the sea had swept them away, but that doesn't explain the stopped clock or the set table or the lighthouse door that had closed behind them. June 9th, 1912, Villisca, Iowa. Josiah Moore, his wife Sarah, their 4 children, and 2 young friends of the family attended a church event in town. They returned home around 10 p.m. They locked the doors. They went to bed. Hours later, in the deepest part of the night, someone entered the house. The killer moved through the bedrooms with Josiah's own axe, a tool the family kept outside. All 8 people were killed in their beds, 8 blows per victim, a crushed skull for every single one. The details of the scene were as disturbing as the violence. The killer covered each victim's face with a cloth, bed sheets, clothing, whatever was nearby. A mirror in the house was also covered. A slab of bacon was left near one of the axes. The doors were locked from the inside, and the killer exited through a bedroom window. No one heard a thing. No one saw a thing. A massive investigation followed. A state senator was tried and acquitted. Another suspect confessed twice and was released both times. The case remains open. 110 years of silence. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more dark history, unsolved mysteries, and stories from the shadows. New videos every week.